G'day, g'day, g'day. Mathematical KM here. Remember their initials, not a title. Keith Malumbi. Weighing in at 14.49, and this is round 2, playing Kamal. And Kamal is 254 points higher. He's in the inside the top 700 players in Australia. I'm inside the top 1,600 players in Australia. So it's going to be a bit of an uphill game. And small secret, making all these videos after the rounds have been played, but this was my best game and my worst game. It was the best of games, it was the worst of games. So let's take a look. Perhaps if you're the intrepid viewer might like and subscribe and only watch the first 40 moves. After move 40, there's nothing to see here. So, okay, here we go. In the lead up to move 40, there's some very good hippo decisions made. So we start with the standard. Long-time viewers are used to all this so far. We'll just keep going until something of note. It's interesting we're getting the standard bishop stacks behind the central pawns, and the only vaguely unusual feature is the pawn rather than the knight on the c6 square, but we'll keep going. Castled. Okay, and that is in many ways the full thick-skinned hippo. The jury's a little out on whether a3 is to be played. A3 is not to be played if black has a pawn on c5. It is to be played if there's a knight here. So it's somewhere in between. Maybe we leave it. Maybe we leave ourselves the option. Now, in terms of which plan do we go for in this breather moment, both of the front pawns have got bishops behind them, so look at how well they're protected. The e-pawn has got two protectors, neither of which is a pawn, and the d-pawn has got two protectors, one of which is the best type of protector, being a pawn. And he's castled to the king side. So what we're thinking about is it's probably not a bad idea to come in with the g-pawn and swing the knights in behind. Especially as the typical pawn on c6, and he's already started it, it allows black to get more pieces, as in both knights, onto the one side. And if you're not awake up to, the movement of the armies on the other side of the board, you might find yourself, what do they call it, defeated in detail in the military, but outnumbered locally. So, and both knights coming is the type of plan that we're thinking about at this point in time. Okay, so the g-pawn goes forward. I like castling most. Interesting. It's not even anywhere near move 30. Why are they saying castling? Sorry, that's the earlier game. Okay, and so yeah, he's definitely bringing that queenside knights come over to the kingside. And just quietly, one of the other things that I had noticed, and it's not going to happen against Kamal, but just imagine that knight was already tucked in and this one hadn't left. Pawn forward. That knight would be trapped. It would have nowhere to go, where it wouldn't be just taken. Didn't actually expect that, and that's not the only reason for bringing the knight round. So we bring the knight round. Okay, and lashed out in the middle. It will stop the planned bringing my other knight around and putting pressure on the pawns. But might be a mistake. However, let's just get this a little lower. I've actually worked out, and this is not often the case in the hippo, more often than not in the hippo, you'll do the Lego fit and lock it up in the middle. But I kind of worked this one out. Takes, and we've still got two more. He's only got one more. So takes, if he wants, takes. So we end up with a nice bishop in the middle. I can see it a bit more now. He may well win that pawn back by the fact that he'll be able to arrange a discovered attack on my bishop just by moving this one. It's easier to look at it with all the arrows in chess.com. But regardless, we'll come back to what I did do, but the more not thinking about it hippo move, which is, excuse me, what Kamal may well have been expecting. A lot of hippo players every time will just lock it up when one of those pawns comes forward. Takes it to -2 to black. And you can see he's made his bishop more active. All sorts of, it's just good. What we actually did was, having worked that out with the fact that we've got 3 on that pawn and he's only got 2, we take, instead of -2, it's plus 0.1 to us. So that was looking at the standard hippo strategies and finding the correct one in one of the trickier moments. Bit of an intermezzo, it's called a great move. Still a side edge to white. It does double our pawns. But, it's also given us a semi-open file. His king's still here. Our king may zip over to the queen side, you never know. He takes plus 1.59, and we should castle right now. Didn't get this one. And that gives us a rook and the bishop on that knight. I mean, it's got the queen and the pawn, but very easily add more. I can see that. Woulda, coulda, shoulda, didn't. We've come in. It was a miss. He takes. We take the queen. He takes back. We take the great move. Take the knight. And what have we got now is, for a small amount of time, we're a pawn up. I would say that our bishops are pretty good pieces. I'd say that knight is not current. I mean, it's a defender of the king, but it's not currently a very good piece. If you were to evaluate the rooks, his rooks are currently probably better, but we can activate our rooks fairly easily. All comes out even. He swings that bishop back, giving the discovered attack on the bishop. Bishop has to move. It cannot move in any way that it can protect that pawn. Our best is bishop to g2, taking it back here, keeping an eye on those pawns. I didn't go that way. I went d3, which was second best, still plus 0.4 to white. He takes with check. And we have to protect, if we want to keep it, our g-pawn. And in addition to that, we're throwing a threat onto the rook, which is pulled back. Rook H would have been better than Rook A, as you can see there. But I'm thinking that while I've got the bishop pair, we'll see what we can do. If we get some of these rooks off, that'd be a good thing. Okay, we certainly don't want to trade a rook for a knight. So, rook to d1. Okay, he's threatening to two pieces, but would end up with an isolated pawn. Not really what we want. So I've instead come over here. The plan being, let's equalise on these pawn structures. He hasn't really got too many choices, and it's in fact his best move. Is we can fix our pawns. We take. Okay, he's thrown in a check. King f3 is best. Unless you play king g2, in which case it is best. Which is continuing to protect the g-pawn, which the knight is threatening. And, you know, we've got every chance of playing that g-pawn forward in a minute. Interesting check. I don't think we've got too much choice. Only one move in the position. As you can see, from plus 0.01, minus 3, minus 7. We'll take the plus 0.01, which is rook takes. He takes king f2, best move. He's checking us. We went back, a bit of an inaccuracy, slight edge to black. King f3, which would have been starting to put pressure on the knight, was better. Pawn forward, he doesn't want to get back spanked if that ever comes up as a chance. And also the long diagonal, the bishop's on it. A few reasons. Called it an accuracy. Okay, now here comes the next little bit that we did quite well. We're thinking about, you can't move that knight. Well, not without spending some time. You could, getting the king closer to protect the rook would allow you to move the knight, but then I could definitely take the rooks off. And then it would be bishop versus knight. How will that go? They say if you use the bishop properly, that's better. That's what he's done. Now, I decided to both of these squares, I know the bishop's onto it now, but if I was to move my king forward to make the knight move, in many ways we don't want it to be able to go and put a check on the king, stopping us from taking his rook and allowing his rook to take mine, which I'm pretty sure Kamal was kind of hoping for. So, kind of got a plan of getting the rook here where the bishop protects it, but right now we've got to make a decision about, and at Gungahlin College quite often the kids pretend that en passant is forced. I really don't think so in this particular case. In fact, I'm ignoring the fact that you put the pawn there, but apart from anything else it stops the knight going there. And now I've got the bishop protecting the rook, and the king can come forward. Okay, so the pawns are slamming forward. We go with the g-pawn. And this is, I know it's not move 40 yet, kind of a mistake. Didn't look at how hard it would be for his king to get around to take it and how protected this pawn was. Obviously it works out okay. The plus 2.5 is taking that pawn and got a passed pawn. But we missed that. What we did do was keeping the slight edge to white. And now we have two pieces attacking the knight. He takes, we take back, the knight goes. It's actually the third choice is... No, it's not even a choice here. We like a4, rook to c3, threatening a pawn, or rook to d3, threatening the knight. Stuff to bear in mind. I was backing in the bishop against the knight, particularly with these pawns are trapped on dark squares, and we've got a dark bishop. And that being the case, I thought let's get rid of the rooks. Wait, taken. Takes back. And I was mostly thinking the bishop here is trapping that king. So for next little while, that king's kind of boxed in. And not anymore. It sort of provoked that move. And now plus 0.3, that was best. Challenging his c-pawn. And I have missed something big here. I have king e4. Or is it just that at this point in time the edge is that good? Because even his king can only... It can get here. But I decided to put some pressure on that pawn there. His knight comes forward. I start bringing the king. Bring the king. The king is threatening the knight. And this is perhaps, of all the moves, I mean, there was picking that central pawn instead of Lego fit, destruction, that was good. But this move is the one that I was most proud of. And it's move 39. Remember, I only want you to watch till move 40. Call it a mistake all you like. This is the winner. It is a great move. Now, if he was a lesser player, he would have taken the bishop. I would have taken the knight. And that's plus 13. If he takes that, I take that. It's still not easy for his king to get around back here. Much easier for my king to clean up and win the game. Plus 13. But no, he found the best move. Now this is... Please don't watch. My best hippo of the tournament right up until this point. And I'm playing, what was it, 250... What is he? 1700, take 250 points up. 254. The simple, the obvious. Take the pawn so he's only got the one pawn island and he can't make you want to be on both sides of the board at once. And his pawn island's no bigger than mine. And just because I didn't want to let his knight come in here if he went there, which is not the end of the world if he does, I've played here instead of taking the pawn. And boy is it costly. Here we are at plus 7.8. Plus 7.8, move 41. Playing 254 points uphill. Ouch. Beautiful move. I now can't take the pawn. I decide to go and try and clean up these pawns anyway, hoping the bishop can keep his back. And it's just... I mean, I can get to here covering both promotion squares, but I can't stop. I can stop the first promotion, but not the second. And then I'm left with my pawns just nowhere near. Because this guy couldn't make it because his king was close enough. So it only went to move 50 and it moved 41. God, even at move 42 it was still plus 5.8. What was I meant to do here? Probably bishop d4 and try and get the king around to protect this guy. Maybe. Actually, at that moment, again, if he goes that way, be ready just to take it. I could have kept fighting on, but at move 41, plus 7.8. So it was the best game of the tournament, and it was the worst game of the tournament. It was certainly some experience of watching a master of the end game who kept on pressing, hoping for an error. The error happened and he pounced on it. Well done, Kamal. But if I can get 41 moves in, maybe next time. Oh, bye for now. That was round 2.